Good afternoon. My name is Akilan Manivandan.
I'm Nicholas Kasman, and we're both freshmen in engineering. This is FishType. So our problem is that the threat of cybercrime is ever growing, and every line of defense is important. Our solution to this is keystroke dynamics, where we apply gait analysis to typing. And gait analysis is basically this unique walking habit that kind of acts like a fingerprint for each person. And one of our use cases for a solution is cybersecurity, where if someone tries to log into your email, we can automatically check their typing habit and match it up with yours. And if it's different, then they'd be recognized as an unauthorized user and be locked out.
While we were doing this, we also realized that because humans actually type in just inherent patterns, we can use this to detect unauthorized web scrapers and be able to create a sort of invisible CAPTCHA so that you don't have to have all those annoying CAPTCHAs, but you can still filter out the web scrapers from hitting your website. And another use case we came up with was actually academic dishonesty. In the age of COVID-19, everyone's taking online tests. There's nothing stopping me from getting my friend to take a test for me. But maybe while they're taking the test, if they type something in, it's going to recognize that, hey, that's not the person who should be taking this test. Let's freeze it until the right person comes back.
So our dataset creation was motivated by us finding only one dataset on Kaggle that had anything related to keystrokes and had little to no data at all. So our goal became to create an open data set that had both the volume and the reliability for data scientists to develop impactful models. And so if you recognize this survey at the bottom here, it's probably because you filled it out, because we asked everyone at the Datathon to fill out our survey, which makes our data set 100% Datathon powered. As for raw data, we got data from 63 users, 5 trials each, which ended up with 315 typing samples.
In the microphone. All right, so here's what we did with that data. We collected 2 variables because that's what most traditional gait analysis use, and since we're modeling that, that's what we took. The seek time, which is the time it takes to switch from one key to the next, and the duration, which is the amount of time you spend on a single key. We were able to get these values by subtracting the raw timestamps for each key press and key release and derive those features accordingly. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that our data set was very clean, and we implemented a lot of that in the front end by making sure that people typed in perfect sentences or making them redo it, but we forgot to factor in capital letters. And so while most people entered the first capital letter as a shift T, some people use caps lock, and that messed up our data. But because it was only a small percentage of people that use caps lock, we just ended up straight dropping all those rows. But this is something we should watch out for in the future to ensure data consistency and data cleanliness, even before we get into the analysis stage. So we figured that it would be off of gait, but we didn't really know, right? Just because it works for legs doesn't mean it works for fingers, but it actually does. And here's why. Here is a sample for a single user in one trial. The left, you have the duration variable that I talked about, and the right, we have seek. And one thing you're gonna notice is that these lines are very tightly close together, and it's showing very little variance. And the same for seek on the right side, which this confirms that for all the trials, it's not like just some random blob. They're actually following the same patterns each time. But this isn't just for that one user in that one trial. If we get to the next slide, we actually decided to calculate the variance, or the CV, which is the correlation variance for all the data points. So the CV is just a standard deviation of all 5 trials divided by the average. And it's a general data science rule that if you can get a CV value less than 1, which is indicated by that blue dotted line, then the data points are highly similar and are going to be like those graphs that we showed you earlier. Each color represents a different user, and each column is a different key that they typed in, right? As you can see, most of their CV values weren't just less than 1. They were less than like 0.5 or 0.4 even. And thus they're highly similar. Now, in fairness, the seek is a little bit more distributed. And if someone were building a model, they might want to consider that seek might not be as strong. Oh wait, we actually did build a model. And so we can tell you for sure what happened. So we messed around with a lot of different models, and we found that the random forest classifier did the best job. Through a long process of hyperparameter tuning, we were able to get our accuracy to 88.2%. More importantly, though, we were able to get a false positive score of 0.000 infinitesimally small, which means that there's that percent chance, a 0.00000 chance that we let the bad guy in. We still, 12% of the time we keep the wrong guy out, but at least we're not letting the bad guy in.
So after completing this, our reflections, we found that Google Firebase was excellent for quickly gathering data and downloading it. And we also learned that cleaning the data set we got was very, very important and became a difficult step of the data science process we learned. And this is also part of why making survey data from humans was so tough to analyze. And lastly, coding is good to know for data science, but math is way more important.
Thanks, and Gigam, and thank you for the hackathon.